Good evening. We're back for the Bench Warmers podcast. I've totally lost track of how many episodes we've done so far, so I'm going to gauge that this is episode 6 of season 2.
Is this
purely because I think it says it on the screen that the last one was episode 5, so that gives you a good starting point.
Is this the year anniversary edition as well?
It is. This is the 12-month period since the last episode.
A full year.
Last episode.
First episode.
That indeed. The last in chronological order, though. So yeah, we're back for the 12-month anniversary of the Bench Warmers podcast. Obviously, the first season we talked a lot about non-league football in general. This year we've spent a lot more talking about what we know a little bit more about.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I mean that is quite loose.
I'm starting over again.
Yeah. Indeed, yeah, I don't really know what else I can say about that. But no, this episode, we've got a number of different areas we're going to touch upon. As Nick has just pointed out before we started, it's quite a long agenda. There's a few different points, but I think some that will fall into different bits. But as we usually do at the start of each episode, chaps, anything been going on personally? Anything we're preparing for? And how's the run prep going?
Good, I'm enjoying it. I'm actually training properly for this one.
You've been doing some recovery, I seem to remember. You've been doing some stretching
and protein.
Eating the right foods.
I wasn't quite that far.
Well, I know your eating habits are
not great. Dry.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Week 8, I think it is now, isn't it?
I'm not following the plan.
Okay. Winging it.
Yeah. I think it's been role reversal from last time.
Yeah, you've never seen me doing that. I'm too professional for that.
Yeah, you're well into a proper plan, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'm averaging just short of 50 mile a week now, and it's all going well.
50?
50, yeah.
Not 15, right?
No,
Okay.
50.
So the limbs are coping good, no ailments, no injuries?
Touch wood if this is wood.
It is,
That's something resembling wood anyway. But no, yeah, body at the minute so far is alright. Couldn't fall to bits at any point. So we'll just enjoy it while we can and see what it takes us.
I seem to remember in our group chat over maybe the last week or so, I've seen a bloody nipple.
A bloody nipple, yeah.
But it didn't look like a good nipple.
Yeah, so
I wasn't even sure it was a nipple.
No.
so Nick's been kind enough to give me some of his nipple plasters, because the nipple area is a very delicate area.
Fresh, not pre-used.
Slightly salty. No, they sort of looked fresh anyway. But unfortunately, my last long run that I did then, my right nipple plaster fell off on course. And you're not, as Nick will vouch, you don't really notice these things while you're running. It's when you finish. And I got back to the car, went to scratch my top, and had a blood all over my hands. I thought, yeah, there's an issue under there.
Fair enough.
Yes, so I would generously to show you two guys the state.
We're delighted to be on the receiving end.
I have heard that there's some other chafage. Unfortunately, we haven't seen photos of that. Is that correct?
Yes. So the other chafage, my short split. Thank you again. So the combination of sweat and chub on chub caused some rather nasty.
I've got a feeling we're gonna have some chub on chub conversation later on in this podcast. So I think we'll leave the chub and nipples alone for now. Nick, how's your training going?
Wow, how do I follow that? A lot simpler, really. I just
Do a bit of running?
Yeah, just went to Leeds on train the other day and thought I'd have a run back from Leeds.
And that was before Saturday's game?
Before Saturday's game,
So we won 3-0 and you're going to have to do this each home game.
Is that it? Is that a set precedent?
Well, I think that's only fair, and I think the listeners may also agree. But yeah, everything's going well. Lennon, have you got anything to provide? Any updates? What are you doing?
I've got stuff that I'm just going to look forward to. It's not something I want to look forward to.
Putting an advert out there, Lennon's driving instructor has just lost his job due to failing his driving test.
So if we know anyone...
Yeah, so any driving instructors out there looking for a new client, then drop us a message and we might be able to get you a little bit of work.
He failed his driving test?
Yes, he did.
Twice.
Is it like his actual driving?
No, so they have a different
test to teach other people at night.
Yeah,
so that makes a little bit more sense.
He failed it twice, and I hope he doesn't listen.
You won't.
He's the listener.
He's
That's why he failed.
Yeah,
He's
so,
too busy listening to
yeah,
this.
so sent Lennon a message just basically saying, unfortunately, you've got to find a new instructor. I'm going to have my car debadged. So that's where he is.
Well, I think that just about covers an introduction
What
to
about
this.
you, Charlie?
I know it's really happening, if I'm honest.
Have you had any holidays during season? Or?
I'm sure we're going to get to that. No, nothing much has really happened, I don't think, as far as I'm aware. Nothing too big. It's obviously Cheltenham at the minute. I'm very much enjoying the first day's racing, depending on when this episode gets out. I may or may not be up or down.
The tip that you gave me today won't have finished by the time this episode goes live, I think. It was that poor horse.
Listen, you win some, you lose some. So far, day one, I'm up. So
that's
a good start. We're just at the first hurdle, though, as far as the week goes.
I love it.
But anyway, we're off. So we'll get on to the first topic of this particular episode, which will look back at recent performances and recent results. So if I'm right in thinking, the last podcast was just prior to the Grantham fixture. Am I right in thinking?
Just after Stockton.
On at Carlton, it was supposed to be Carlton, and the Carlton game was postponed. Was that
Carlton
right?
game was postponed, so
It'd have to Stockton.
yeah. So Grantham was the first game back. So we were due to play Carlton. Obviously, that game was postponed due to a flooded pitch, as has become the norm of recent times.
That were a game I was going to miss due to going on holiday.
Yeah.
And then didn't actually end up missing it.
You took a lot of shit
I got a
about
lot of criticism
A lot of shit out
for going for this mid-season holiday.
These things happen, and as I'm about to admit, I missed the Grantham game.
So that was the game straight after, and in that time when I was getting that shit, at no point did he think, I best come clean about this and tell you all that I'm going to be missing that game.
Well,
And not only am I going to be missing that game, I'm also going to need you to do social media and football web pages.
That went to shit as well.
Well, as confirmed, I was in Glasgow for that particular weekend, so I was keeping.
Was that a surprise? Did that just drop on you
No,
that morning?
I weren't in Glasgow. I were in Newcastle that weekend. It was pre-arranged, but I may or may not.
Were you
be
at one
aware
of your
the dates.
company's premier inns?
I was at Rooms Apart Hotels, which
Okay.
is just going to drop that in there if anyone needs any accommodation.
In the three cities that you've got hotels in.
Listen, 8 cities, 11 locations in Scotland as well.
That ain't gonna make next thing where we video and have to name all cities where we've got rooms, is it?
Listen, if that's what
Won't be a long
comes
list,
up,
will
you've
it?
got to do what you've got to deal with. But now, obviously, we'll get on to the games because there's been a few actually in between the last episode. We've managed to actually cram a few games in despite the postponements that we have had. I nearly did miss another game, but the Sheffield game was also postponed while I went to Glasgow, so I got away with one there. But obviously, the Grantham fixture, 1-0 win. Bailey Thompson scored the winner.
Did actually
You
score,
guys
I believe.
were
Yeah.
there, so you guys have got the floor. Tell us about the game. What happened? What did we
I
miss?
can't tell you anything about the game.
You were telling me that Lloyd had plucked one out of the sky and brought it under
Yeah, there was a touch from the gods, I think. It came outside his
on a
box.
bad pitch.
A bad pitch, and the ball's come down. We were up there a good 30 seconds after that ball.
Well, one of the things that Charlie asked us to think about on his agenda, which you will have seen. 'cause
Obviously,
you read it,
yeah.
One of the things that you asked for were one of our highlights and lowlights. I think that was my highlight of the recent games, was that touch from Ginger Neuer. It was unreal. That ball just comes on a tricky pitch.
Which I'm going to get to as
I'm
well.
sure we'll
I've
get
got a
to
point
the
to raise. on
tricky
this.
pitch. But yeah, most outfield players have been struggling. Ball drops over our back line and just kills it. One touch at his feet.
I think I remember hearing several people in the ground.
Well, just for anyone that couldn't hear that, because
Oh.
Gareth did it slightly under his voice, it was a bit of a groan, shall we say.
A pleasing groan, let's call it.
But no, obviously that particular fixture we ran out winners, and sometimes you find yourself having a look to see what the opposition post on social media, what they post in their post-match analysis, their thoughts, highlights packages, this and that. And their manager sounded like a child, an absolute child. They'd been beaten 1-0. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I've not looked back at the highlights. However, he looked like he was on the brink of tears in the building, doing his post-match, not on the pitch because it was such a bad pitch he couldn't stand up on. It was the worst pitch he's ever seen, that the ref should never have got it on. So despite someone who's done an inspection in the morning, a qualified official, 3 officials on the day that officiated the match for the entirety of the game felt were playable. I found it quite amusing to see a grown man almost crying about a football pitch that both teams had to play on, and one in particular, one on the afternoon, and it wasn't his, but he made sure to have a good whinge and a moan about
the thing about that for me was the quality, or lack of it, of Grantham's pitch last season. We talked about it.
We played on a sand pit at their ground.
Given the problems that they'd had with whatever bugs it was that were in the ground, the crows were then eating the bugs that were turning the pitch over, to then come here and complain about our cabbage patch, I thought was a tad unfair.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is that. I'm not sure because there's been quite a change at Grantham in terms of management, whether he was actually involved at Grantham at that time, but the point still stands.
Well, whatever happened, they did really, really poorly.
Their league position would suggest that they've had problems with a number of pitches throughout the campaign.
So just on our social media and football web pages coverage of that game then, for those that aren't familiar with what happens with that, during non-league games, someone has to update what's happening during the game in terms of the football web pages.
So you've got each home team, certainly in the Northern Premier League, has to operate the football web pages, app, microsite, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, I like a microsite.
Yeah.
So what happens there when you do that? Sometimes it updates bits on Twitter, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Yeah, it automatically
lineups.
posts out to social media, and someone may or may not have posted a touch early.
Right. So what I would say is clearly, it's a dig at me.
No, I've not come for you. I'm just saying the words before Nick says
So
it.
part of my job, Nick, as you know, that day was
in Charlie's absence. That he not declared.
No, well, I have declared in the build-up to the game. Just post podcast.
So part of my job was updating the teams. Now Charlie did say that it was something he could do, but it was on a lovely weekend away at Travel Lodge with his other half, and I wanted to give him that full weekend of enjoyment.
That's very kind of you.
I thought so. So I got given the team sheet. Okay.
You had a first look.
I had a first look at the team sheet. I wasn't at any point told that I couldn't update that team sheet.
Well, it's not.
No, I'm on. So what
You
time
wasn't
was
told
this?
you could update.
Of
You
course
mean
you do.
you weren't allowed to post? Oh, you were half hour early. Oh, you were half hour early.
No, but nobody's told me that.
To be fair, I think that's down to the match officials because usually they're not supposed to exchange sheets until quarter past.
Well,
So I think you've been done by the match
he's
officials.
exchanged sheets, and he's given the sheet to Tina, who was in charge of our match day
He's just
operation.
Tina well under.
No, I haven't. There's no boss. So Tina,
No,
who was in
situation.
charge of the situation, gave me the team sheet because she knew what I was obviously taking part in that day. So I have updated the football.
You've done your
record.
task.
I've done my task.
Well, what I'll say is, in your defence, you've been thrown under the bus by match officials.
Exactly.
So what happened then? Why is this a problem?
Well, because team sheet went on Twitter before players knew what team won. That's the issue, I think. I mean, Jimmy seemed far from pleased, but I do believe he thought it was your fault.
No, he thought it was
Oh,
Charlie's
even
fault.
better.
And I were up in Newcastle, absolutely none the wiser, because I'd gone on to post the team, thinking, I'll do it, Gareth.
Oh, hold on a minute. All right, okay.
So I'd gone on to do it.
But
This is at 2:45, and I've gone, it's already on.
because I'm a considerate,
He's beat me to
I'm
it.
a considerate friend.
So I just went about my day, keeping my eye on the results, and then at the end of it, I find out that Gareth may have been quite presumptuous. But then on the other hand,
Thorough.
not so presumptuous because he missed
No, he didn't. Again, this is
No, that was
He declared there'd been a red card when there hadn't been a red card.
I can defend him in this situation here.
Go on.
The referee, I did see a red card.
Yes, Nicky did.
I never saw a red card in that game.
This isn't going to work on our thing. Right? But I have had a conversation with Tina regarding this.
The match official has come.
Yeah, who was in charge of the match day, Tina. She was in charge of the match day, Tina. And she spoke to the match official at the end of the game. The match official confirmed that he showed their left back, Sassy something, a red card by mistake because he thought he'd booked him previously, but in fact booked with his teammates, and that was the thing. So he did confirm that he showed the red card.
Can I ask about the panic after?
So basically, you've got off scot-free.
Blind panic. So I was stood next to Nick's friend and all our friends, Dan. And I said to Dan, when we turned around to Dan, what the fuck do I do? I've sent this guy off. At which point me and Dan are like randomly looking around trying to find ways of reversing it. And I've got to be honest, at one point I did consider abandoning the game. But thankfully, I found a way of changing the red card.
A correction.
I found the correction tab.
Well, that's great. And I'm not going to lie to you. We spent a lot of time on Grantham. We've got a few games to go through, so I'm going to speed things up a little bit.
That's good. And I got away with it.
I think we can go through.
Right, yeah, no. Now that you mentioned that, Nick.
What is question 3?
Question 3 of Nick's
The words.
interview. Words seem to fail you, is what I'm going to say.
No, I had words.
No, you had lots of them.
I had
the
words
put together in a.
There was no question, and all I can say is thank you to the gaffer, Craig Rouse, for somehow constructing the random words that I put together,
blurted
into some semblance of something that he could form an answer to. He absolutely saved my bacon.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, he made it sound like there was a question, but if you scroll back, yeah, it was something.
Thanks, gaffer.
So, as I mentioned, we're going to try and speed things up a little bit in the recap. Sadly, we had a couple of defeats in a row, 2 away trips in what was effectively, well, the last month has been largely dominated by home games. But the 2 away games ended in defeat. Obviously, we went to North Ferriby. We played pretty well. The game itself went largely quite well. Nick's just going to crack a can open, so we're just going to take a second. You want to tell us what you're drinking?
I've just had a Faith in Guava, and I'm now having a Crush Hour Everyday Hazy Pale from Vocation.
Very nice. And if you're listening, send some more. Yeah, North Ferriby. We went there. We played pretty well.
That looks like a ticket.
Carry on.
Thank you. Played very well. We had plenty of chances in the first half. Probably should have been ahead at half time. Second half, we had a number of chances, but they hit us on the counter attack with a goal that I think Lloyd will be disappointed with. I think Connor's perhaps got under a crossfield ball, and their fullback's done quite well to keep it in. And to be honest, I think he's got a large slice of luck in their goal. We've obviously pushed him to try and get a leveller, but I think it was just one of them days where it didn't look like it were ever going to drop for us and get a chance to actually score in the box, and that ended up proving to be the case on what I can only describe as the best surface at this time of year that I've seen anywhere on any...
Green mud.
It was good.
Yeah, good green mud.
What I will add as a caveat is that when you've got a full-time groundsman for, I think, Hull City that are looking after
the pitch. Do their reserves play there?
Either the reserves or the women may play there, but it's a very good surface, and possibly the best I've seen this year that is grass and not 4G. Best surface that we played on.
It felt like a draw would have been a fair result that night, but I think one of my lasting memories about that my first visit to North Ferriby,
mine as well.
Good setup, couple of food bars.
You can see they played at a higher level. They're set up to have hosted quite a large crowd previously.
The decor was all green, it all matched. There was just something next level about them. But what I will say is, I think that's possibly the quietest ground that we've been to in terms
It
of
was
home
short on
support.
atmosphere from the hosts.
For a team that's doing so well in such good form, and are they hot on our heels? Are they above us?
They are. They're in and around us. I think they're just above, just below even.
Yeah, they're in great form, charging up league. But they were so quiet.
Yeah, they didn't have too much to say from the home end, and I think the only time they really did was one when the goal went in, and a little bit at the end when the players were clapping that one corner of the ground.
Well,
there were a couple of youths, but yeah, obviously that was a disappointing result. We then went up to Dunstan, where we were unsure we were going to get a game on. Obviously, Dunstan have not played many home games this year. And we are going to get onto this a little bit later in the episode about where they have been playing some of their games this year.
God, it's going to be late by the time
Don't
I
worry,
get to this agenda.
I'm aware,
so.
Don't worry, we've covered a couple of topics already, so don't worry.
Yeah.
So obviously, Dunstan, we'd gone up there, we were playing against a side that is now currently second in the league. They've got 3 games in hand and could go a point behind. Sorry, 2 points behind Stockton if they win the games in hand. So they're a good side. They've probably been the form side in the division in terms of the upper half of the league table.
I don't think we did ourselves any justice up there, though.
No.
I think that was the point we're used to seeing up there,
I don't think we were horrendous, but I don't think we pulled too many punches.
I think we played okay, but I think the only problem is they were just better.
I mean, it does help when they scored the opening goal just before half time from an absolute mile out. I think
that's
potentially a couple of lads will have been disappointed with their part in the goal, but I mean, when you score from that far out just before half time, it doesn't leave you overly in a good position for the second half from a mental perspective. But to be honest, second half again, we were largely in the game. We had a couple of chances, made a couple of subs where Callum and Bailey's had a good couple of openings in the penalty area, and then obviously late on they while we're trying to push and get an equaliser, they've grabbed a second. And to be honest, their 2 strikers are probably the form strikers in the league, and I think it's David Robinson who scored both goals on that day, but the number 9 set up the second goal. And I think them two have struck a good partnership for Dunstan. So
I tell you what I find odd, and this is no way on this occasion me bleating and moaning about it as such, but I find it odd that the gentleman that refereed the game
is a man in the middle.
Is a direct rival's chairman's son, and is allowed to referee that game. And I'm not saying he did anything untoward on that game. I didn't think he had. I thought it was okay when he refereed.
No, I thought it was. I thought it was.
When he refereed us a few weeks before he did Hebburn, I thought it was abysmal.
Yeah.
But
a bit of context,
how another team's chairman's son could referee in that league, I just don't think right.
For a bit of context, the referee in question, who refereed us away at Hebburn and again away at Dunstan, is the son of the chairman for Concert. Now, I'm led to believe a couple of clubs that we've spoken to, that we've played against. Who have we played recently?
I believe even
Ashington, we played
Dunstan had concerns.
They've both raised concerns. Obviously, the league have said that they don't see any problem with it. The FA clearly don't see a problem with it. But if you were to put a scenario in place where, for example, the last game of the season, we were to play Hebburn, and Concert are playing someone else, and it's between us and Concert to get in the playoffs. It not only leaves the referee, the son of, in a position where he's opening himself up to a huge can of worms, but if he does make a decision that is
debatable,
wrong, or debatable is probably the best choice of word, it's not going to look particularly great when that could then put Concert in a beneficial position. I don't think in any way, shape or form we should be officiating in any of the games in our league.
No.
I appreciate that for a referee, he's in a compromising position if he's wanting to go up the ladder. But I just can't see how it's physically possible that you can have someone that is such a close tie to another club. Maybe if you've got the cousin of a secretary, you might not have as close of an impact. But you're talking the son of a chairman of another football club.
I mean, I take it you can't referee concert games.
No, would not be.
But
feasible.
obviously.
So that tells you already that there's a problem that you can't get involved with the concert game.
Which is what I'm getting at.
But you can officiate a game
that directly
affect them. So yeah.
I need to point out though, I'm not accusing him of doing anything untoward at Dunstan.
However,
but I did think you were dog shy to heaven.
it certainly puts a position of if ever there was such a word as unclarity to a situation, that would certainly be it.
Unclarity?
Yeah, I've thrown it in there. It's not a word, but I've thrown it in there. Anyway, we've skipped on the 2 defeats that left us with a home quarter-final cup tie against Campion. We started pretty well, to be honest, barring the fact that
they scored 2.
They went up the other end of the field after we've had 2 chances and scored from a corner. And then they've scored again against the run of play. But barring that, I can't really remember anything where you thought, could have scored there. They didn't create too much.
In those opening few minutes, we'd had all the possession. We were playing good football on, once again, a tricky pitch that's hard to knock about at the back. We'd created chances, and it looked like it was going to be a walk in the park. And then we blink and we're 2-0 down to 2 soft goals.
Indeed. Yeah, but I think what we've shown as a side this year, if you look at a lot of our games, particularly home games, when we have fallen behind, it's very rare that we've actually not come back into a game. And as luck would have it, before half-time, we managed to score 2 goals within 3 minutes, I think it was. If I'm right, it's Bailey scored the first one from a Louis Charlton cutback, and then Louis then got on the end of a crossing from Frankie on the other side. A night where both wingers were crucial to what we had on the front foot. And then on a night of milestones, which we're directly leading up to on the next segment of this podcast, but Jack, after being presented his 250 appearances shirt, popped up in the 89th minute to score what ended up being the winner and putting us into the semi-final of the County Cup for the first time in a number of years. So a particularly good night in the end after what was a difficult start, shall we say.
I remember spending a fair percentage of that night thinking, thank God I'm not having to do football work there.
There were a lot of stuff that went on.
Yeah, exactly. Too busy for my life.
Plenty of subs,
Too busy.
5 goals.
Too busy.
And then I wonder if that's the first goal that Jack's ever scored with his back. I'm sure it went in.
I think it was a mixture of back, face, shoulder.
Everything.
But he threw everything at it. You could see he was desperate to score the winner, and he did.
Sink.
We then go on to Ashington. Another game where first half we largely dominated. We go a goal ahead through Adam from the penalty spot.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. Even on his that was the game after. That was Briggs.
Yes.
So Ashington, we go a goal ahead. This is on the Tuesday night. We then come back just before half time. Ashington's, I think it was number 11, who was how you would describe as fast as Flip.
Nick.
Yeah, fast as Nick.
Fast as Nick.
And he really was. And I think their entire game plan was based upon, let's get the ball in behind to, I think his name was Neeshaw. Surname was Neeshaw. And anyway, he did that twice before half-time. The first one gets him behind, scores himself. Second one gets him behind on the left side, cuts back, and we find ourselves 2-1 down right before half-time after dominating the first half, having lots of chances and only putting one away. Start of the second half.
Well, at half time, it's one of them where both sets of players, both sets of officials are having a go at the referee and linesman because of how poor they've been. So I know we like to moan about the officials. It'd be much better if we didn't have to.
Yeah.
Well, no.
But that particular.
Well, I'd rather not get migraines by the condition of which match officials have put me through the ringer this year.
I think there was questions about whether ours was a penalty.
I think it was soft.
And there were certainly questions from what we gathered from people who were on the sidelines as to how far offside they were when Ashington scored their goals.
Well, I've looked back at the footage. The first one I don't think was offside.
Okay.
Looking back at it. But
Somewhere with me.
But the third one, I'm not sure. But yeah, anyway.
Especially with the bent leg.
What do you mean? What
I bent leg might be getting fixed, so don't worry.
Yeah.
What are you referring to?
Have you heard about this? So what's happened just before our game on Saturday? You can see he's looking miserable and sad.
Well, I'm just looking that we've got a certain amount of time through this podcast, and we've still got 3 points to cover.
Fantastic. So I'll make it very brief. Charlie lost his cool a little bit because somebody bent his tripod leg, and we were very unhappy about it, stomping around.
The video.
They don't come cheap, these tripods. But anyway, I'm going to move on quickly because we've got some games to cover. Ashington, we go 3-1 behind in the second half, leaving us an uphill task that has proven quite a number of times, as discussed at home this year, attacking the shed end. We found a way to drag the goals in. I think Adam scored the second of our goals on the night. Miles Labastide, new man on loan, gets up for a bicycle kick into the path of Adam, who converts from close range. And then the equaliser with time ticking on, Louis Charlton scoring again to add to his goal against Campion to make it 3 apiece. And we probably could have even won it late on.
So you've done that little run through of that, and none of that sounds even vaguely familiar, apart from the overhead kick.
Well, there you go.
That's the only thing I can.
What, on the Miles Labastide song?
Yes. Well, that's Nick's song, isn't it?
Well,
there's
depends which one.
There's a variation,
There's
isn't there?
2 Miles Labastide songs.
Well, we'll go on to the Bridlington Town game where we can obviously touch on
Go full Bastide.
Yeah. Bridge, obviously, after not winning in the league since the 17th of Feb.
They're pony, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it was a game that you would have marked down as a must-win if you wanted to get back into the playoff spots and get your season back on track somewhat. And we certainly did that. Obviously, first half, we go in 1-0 ahead. Adam on the volley, scoring to put us ahead again. He seemed to found the back of the net after having a bit of a dry spell, and he seems to have got himself back into the run of scoring goals. And then second half, we put things out of sight early doors, which is always a nice thing to do. I think we both said at the start of the second half, it'd be nice if we could grab a second. And I think I followed it with, it'd be nice if we could grab a third. And I think within the space of 5 minutes, we'd gone 3-0 up, and the game were effectively over from that point.
There were no threat from Brew at all.
I think I remember one shot in the first half where they broke through.
Yeah, they were
dragged
near
it
the
wide.
goal, I think. Yeah.
But other than that, didn't create anything. And I listened to their post-match analysis from their manager. If you were to have listened to his pre-game talk, if it was anything to the level of his post-match analysis, you can see why they wouldn't have been up for the game. Because he sounded like the most boring individual I have ever listened to in a post-match
Can't wait to go there in a couple of
analysis.
weeks.
Oh my God. He might as well have said, well, we weren't going to win. We came here seeing what we could
We
get.
had to come on, we get fined.
And we got nothing from it. And that basically, he might as well have said that in his post-match, because that's the effect that I gathered from it. You can see why his players weren't overly up for it, and they got nothing.
I think Frankie Sinfield's best game of the season as well.
I think Frankie's struggled a little bit over the last month or so. I know he's had a couple of niggly injuries, but I think I've mentioned that pitch conditions even have not been suitable to getting the ball down, bit of trickery, getting past the man. But I think Saturday was, like you say, it's probably been his best performance in a Pommy shirt. Drove their right back absolutely nuts, turning him inside out. Some great crosses into the box, which has been the case over the last few games. And he had a particularly good game and grabbed himself a brace. which is always nice.
What were you calling their midfielder, sorry?
Which midfielder?
He-Man from somewhere or other.
Oh,
Ram-Man from He-Man.
Ram-Man from He-Man.
Chub on Chub.
Chub on Chub.
Anyway, we
I hope
talked
it's
about,
short.
we are, have you got something else?
I was
there?
just going to say, what you said about Frankie, I think you can exactly mirror with Louis as well.
Yeah.
I think there's been games where he's been quiet.
Yeah.
And these last couple of games that we've had, his pitches have started to firm up a bit.
I mean, I've
There's a
never
bit
seen
less
anyone ever.
ball.
I've never seen anyone cross a ball so accurately when running at full tilt. Obviously, getting past your man and putting a cross in, but he seems to be able to, he'll knock the ball past the man, and whilst he's still running at full whack to get to the ball before the byline, he's still able to get the same purchase on a cross. And I think he's been on the button, both him and Frankie, with some of the deliveries that they're putting. So it's been particularly good. We talked about it on the last episode. We're in a semi-final of the County Cup. We've potentially got we're a game away from a final, Gareth.
Oh,
So
can you imagine?
the potential cup ties available. Obviously, the semi-final tie has not been drawn yet. That is because Harrogate Railway are still to play Knaresborough Town in a quarter-final, because Harrogate Railway and FC Halifax were cancelled on, I think, 3 or 4 occasions for getting their game on, again due to wetness. So obviously, once that game's played, I would have thought it's going to be this week. We'll find out who we're due to play in the semi-final. But there's potential of Guiseley, obviously in the division above us, AFC Wakefield in 2 divisions below us in the NCL Division 1. Nick's pulling a face. I think that's because it's a tie that he'd quite like to see.
Yeah.
The local derby.
I'd like to see
yeah.
that new stand, that ground.
Be interesting to see if it's a tie that came out. I know obviously there's been a little bit of discussion about potentially playing.
Sorry to interrupt, I have an update from the Harrogate Railway versus Nares.
Oh, it's on tonight.
Is this a live update?
Live update. Postponed.
Fantastic.
Extreme wetness.
Very extreme wet. Where was it supposed to be?
Harrogate. Very wet in Harrogate.
Very wet.
Very
Right.
wet.
Well, thanks for that,
Welcome,
Jeff. We'll come back to you for the next next live update. But no, obviously,
Still off.
could be Harrogate Railway, could be Knaresborough. Who do we want? If you can choose your semi-final, home, away, team,
Well, let's.
what are you going
Well,
for?
I mean, because they're getting a bit big for the boots, aren't they now? And the Flying 8 Northern Counties East Division 1 week rest at Riff Raff. But I'd quite like to go to Wake and give them a good scene, to be honest. They need to be put in the place a little bit. I know a couple of Wakey fans that come to Lock Lane where I work. And
so if you want to find him,
if you want to find me, I'll be there. I'll be still
he'll be in furnace room somewhere.
Stuck in a furnace. But yeah, so I'd quite like them. Good to them. Give them a slap about, and then bring on
Play a nice pitch.
Exactly.
Get the ball down. Think about it a little bit. I think I'm with you on that one. Lennon, anything to add? Any alternate opinions?
I would probably want to face guys as well.
You would want to face
Yeah,
guys.
the team from League above.
Beat them in final.
Beat them in final. Is that how you want the final? Where would the final be played?
So I'm led to believe that, unlike a number of other counties, ours will be held at whichever team is the highest ranked left in the competition.
So the 2 times that Ponty have been to the final before, obviously I know you 2 have heard me mention this previously, is we played in the late 80s, we played Farsley Celtic, who obviously were higher up at then, played at Farsley.
Yeah.
And then the time after that we played Bradford Park Avenue.
At Bradford Park Avenue.
It wasn't at Bradford Park Avenue, it was at Valley Parade. But we also very Bradford based.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, like you said.
I think if you look at a number of the county setups, I know the Sheffield and Hallamshire is being played at Hillsborough.
Right.
I believe whatever the version of the Northern League.
The thing is, when County FA have spent all that money on having a 4G pitch,
You'd think you'd play it there.
play there.
But then my argument to that is what facilities have they got there? I'm pretty certain they haven't got a bar.
I think they have got, it's not a big one, but yeah.
They've probably not got food facilities. They've only got 1 stand. the rest of it is all very open.
Sounds like camping so far.
Well, yeah, basically. But yeah, I think that's the only reason why it's not at those grounds. But I'd quite like to see us playing County Cup finals, whether we're in it or not, in a neutral venue of some standard, whether that's, I don't know, Halifax Town's ground, a decent ground that you could host a football.
You should be able to have
Harrogate
a
Town could be another example of that. But yeah, I think that's where I stand on that particular cup.
You shouldn't have a cup final where the ground you're playing at is one of the
One
teams'
team's
home
home.
ground.
Indeed, which it has been the last 2 times when, Liversidge got beat by Campion, so we knocked out the holders. But yeah, Campion beat Liversidge at Liversidge last year.
But that was a good game.
It's not one I'll be looking for the highlight package of.
Do you think they'll film it on a video as good a quality as yours, Charlie?
3 straight legs.
Listen, videos, it is what it is. You get your content, you deal with it.
It looks like it's filmed on a potato.
That's because you have to zoom in you've got to use the right dimension.
I like it when you send a video in our personal group and you put, it's clearly offside, it's clearly a foul, you can see it. I can't make out a bloody thing that's going on.
That's what I tell you about your eyesight.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you which ground it's at sometimes. Let alone whether it's 3 inches offside.
You can see off all the channels on there.
Yeah, well, loosely.
Yeah.
We're going to go on. We've touched on pitches and conditions slightly in a couple of segments. The last one about Dunstan. Dunstan have played at more grounds than anyone else this year, including away grounds as well, for that matter. But Dunstan, in recent weeks, they've obviously played 1 game at home, us, but they've then played at Concert. Is that down to the lovely Concert Chairmen? But they've played some of their home games at Concert. And the strangest one yet, of Saturday, they beat Belper Town in a promotion-chasing clash. They beat them quite convincingly, but it was held at Brighouse Town.
A home game.
A home game away from
Brighouse.
home. Now, if you were to look on a map, you'd find that Brighouse isn't that close to Dunstan. So for anyone that's not aware of where Dunstan is, it's up the A1. It's the junction next to
Angel of the North.
Well, yeah, it's past.
That's
Yes.
it's one way.
It's the junction before Metro Centre.
Yeah.
So it's pretty central Newcastle.
It's about a quarter of a mile from Metro Centre.
Yeah. So Brighouse, which we're aware of, left of us on the M62. Left. Are they not left?
Yeah, they are left.
It depends which way you face.
West on the M62. Left bound. We're arguably closer to Dunstan than Brighouse.
I don't think that's an argument.
For a reference point.
I think that's a fact.
So it's a bit of a strange one, but they obviously have managed to
It's
cope
even
with that
stranger for me
and,
because
and win the game.
all the time we've talked about this, I thought the game was played at Belper.
There you go.
So all week.
Well, they
so-
have switched the fixture as well at some point this year. I think they played what was supposed to be the North Ferriby fixture at North Ferriby, and then the alternate fixture has then been swapped for later on in the season. So it tells you the condition of their pitch that the league are forcing them to look at. Alternate.
Is that some sort of punishment?
Is
your
it?
Your pitch is crap, we're going to make you go to Brighouse.
I mean, it sounds pretty punishable.
Yeah.
Imagine though, being one of their fans, you've got a season.
Well, they had to put a bus on, didn't they?
I know.
77 attendance.
It's just
77.
it's just poor, isn't it? Yeah. For their home fans, that's poor.
I don't think it's on at any stretch. And by all accounts, the update is that their pitch would have been playable to play on, but the league had told them that they had to make prior arrangements.
Could you imagine setting off to travel to an home fixture 120 miles
2 hours away?
and your pitch is alright?
Yeah.
I can't play, lads.
Yeah, it's
Even their pitch when we played them.
I mean, the pitch wasn't.
It were a tad soft.
Their
that
pitch
bottom
wasn't
end.
great when we played them, but got the game on.
Yeah.
It was playable. Now we go back to what happened at Dunstan at the start of the campaign. They had a hearse on the pitch. I can't remember if we've discussed this, but I seem to think that we would have done because it's such a strange thing in the first place. But I think do we think that's potentially the reason why their pitch is that bad? Because I don't remember it previously being that bad.
I would go in there. I expected it to be like a speedway track or something like that, and it looked alright.
Mm-hmm. But whether
as we were walking into ground at the bottom end, you didn't look at it and think, "Oh, that looks horrendous."
there's been a hearse on it.
Until Jimmy Williams knocked an aerial ball down to Lloyd and it just landed and went plop.
Yeah. And plop was the sound. If you were to create a sound with your mouth rather than a that was quite accurate.
But Lloyd did say, obviously, as we were going over, he did comment that he thought it was better than our pitch.
It's probably not all wrong as to how it's been recently. But we've had a number of games on at home recently, so hopefully that run continues. This weekend at home to North Ferriby, where we'll look to get a bit of revenge. We're into the final section, the final furlong of this episode, but also the final furlong of this season. We've only got a few games left, so if we open up the league table, we've played 28 of 38, 10 to go. Looking at how the league table stands at the moment, we're outside the playoff spots by 3 points, but the sides of others we have games in hand on. So if we go from first to, let's say, 9th position at the moment, so obviously top of the tree, Stockton lead. They've played 30 games. They've got a plus 37 goal difference with 66 points on the board. Currently 11 points clear of Dunstan, who we mentioned. I've got 3 games in hand. Arguably, they're probably going to be some way off the 12 goals behind on the goal difference. And then in 3rd place, you've got Hebburn, who've played a game more than Dunstan and a point behind them. 4th, you've got Belper Town, 29 games, 17 goal difference, 52 points. And then in 5th, possibly the turnaround story of the season in Newton Aycliffe, who went after maybe 6 or 7 games, you would have had them down for potential relegation fodder. They've gone on a remarkable run since probably October, November time, somewhat likened to Grimsby Borough last year. They find themselves above us in the league in 5th. They have played 3 more games than us, only a goal difference of 3, which tells you the kind of start to the season they had. 52 points, same as Belper. Ourselves in 6th. We've got games in hand on the teams around us. So we've got 3 in hand on Newton Aycliffe, 1 on Belper, and 2 on hand in the team below us. 49 points, obviously. North Ferriby below us, 30 games gone, a minus 3 goal difference, the only side with a minus goal difference, and 48 points on the board. So Saturday is what you would call a promotion 6-pointer. Any thoughts on where we think that the sides are going to end up? If you were to have a stab now, who's going to win the league and who's going to be the playoff final and win it?
Who's win first?
Who's stabbing?
I think Stockton will win the league.
So Lennon's going first with Stockton to win
They
the
do like
league.
it shout, don't they?
See, I'm going to come back to mine, but playoff final and who do you think will...
I want to say we'll win the playoff final.
Okay, and who do you think will beat in that playoff
That's
final?
a great claim. That sounds horrible, this.
I think we'll beat Hebburn in the playoff final.
Oh my god.
Interesting that Hebburn being beaten in back-to-back playoff finals. Is that correct? No, they got beat by Long Eaton last year. How did they beat? I think Long Eaton beat Stockton. They won league.
Oh, that's good.
No, they didn't. They were the year before. They went up with
Worktop.
No, Long Eaton went up.
Just talking Munchy sense folks, I was out there.
Last year, Long Eaton and Worksop went up.
Alright, so we'll
So busy. You're going to
Hebburn
switch
playoff.
off every shout to the league table.
Please just put
I feel like I'll Stockton.
up a visual.
Oh, right. Well, hurry up and get your fucking predictions.
We've got him. We've got a live one.
You want my predictions, Charlie?
Knock back on, we've got time running out.
Yeah, Dunstan to win the league.
Oh.
And I'm thinking Belper to win the playoffs, beating Stockton.
Interesting. Gareth, I'll let myself go last.
Well, Stockton can't choke again, can they, surely? I know they love a choke, but surely they can't choke again. Yet again. So I think they'll be able to line this time.
Champions?
Yeah, I think so. I know Dunstan have got games in hand, but you'd rather have points on board at this set. 11-point lead with,
Potential 9 points.
Yeah, is a lot. So, I'm going to go Stockton to win it, and then I think Dunstan will go to the playoffs.
And who will they beat in final? Where will they play?
I think it'll be Heaven.
Heaven? Yeah. I am going to say that Stockton are going to choke again. They're not going up this year. I don't know what it is about Stockton, but even losing against Newton Aycliffe the other weekend.
It's a magnificent joke if they don't.
I don't know what it is.
There's a big points difference.
It just gets to this time of year and all of a sudden it starts to get a bit shaky and they think, is it going to happen, is it not? And I just can't see him doing it.
Can't choke again, boys, surely.
I think,
wow.
I just think there's something there and I just can't see him doing it. So I'm going to say Dunstan are going to win the league. And I'm going to say that we're going to beat Stockton in player final.
Oh.
I think if you
What a day!
If you put us against Stockton at Stockton on their 3G pitch, we just play good on decent pitches.
I don't think we're getting out of there alive if we win up there.
No.
Well, they certainly won't let us walk out round past the changing rooms.
We'll have to go up in scuba diving gear just in case. Can you imagine us all rocking up in
Fancy
bed?
dress. But yeah, that's my prediction. I'm going to say it now. If it doesn't happen, oh well. But I think Dunstan will pick them.
I know it's part of the quest I forgot about them, to be fair. But my dark horse, I wouldn't look past Newton Aycliffe, mate. And I know I ripped them off a little bit with Clive because partly I forgot about them. But I've got a feeling that if they're in playoffs and they're then I'm going to be easy to beat them. Because when they come down here, and I know the beat is on a pudding, but they were well set up, they knew what they were doing. They came in with a game plan and they executed it on us.
My only thought about Newton Aycliffe was that they were very well set up as a team, but I didn't think any of their players actually stood out. And I think sometimes when you get to these big games, I feel like you need someone who's going to do something a little bit different. They've clearly done well recently.
They're a solid side, aren't
they? But I just think for you to win a playoff final or even a playoff semi, you need someone to do something special. And I'm just not quite sure they've got that calibre of player.
Give me a well-organised team over a special player any day.
Yeah, but I think anyone in that top 8 has got a decent squad. I just think maybe the other squads have perhaps got something a little bit more in the punch games. And that's got us to the end of our anniversary podcast. We've covered a lot of bits. I mean, it states that there's 6 segments inside the podcast, including an intro and this joyous outro. But I think we've covered a certain range of topics. Certainly some bits that I'm sure as someone that may or may not be listening may have some counter arguments. So feel free to obviously comment those, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you find our
Just not face to face.
Yeah, I mean, you can have it face to face. It just looks better when it's posted online. Yeah. So let us know what you think.
I know Stockton fans when we played in semi-final know which one's you.
And they know where you're working as well.
Yeah.
But you'll notice that this has been our first videoed episode. So let us know what you think to that as well. And obviously we try to continue to improve our output as things go. You may have seen Gareth's quiz. So we'll hopefully bring some more content like that over the next few weeks towards the end of the season.
That, by the way. Set a quiz up that you've been revising.
I've not revised any of it. So we'll see how I got on. I'll post some of the content.
I've got a feeling I know.
Lennon's up next, so stay tuned for that. But for those that have listened, obviously thanks for doing so. And hopefully you'll tune in again next time.
Bye.
Thank you very kindly.
Bye.